Well, probably the biggest case in hip hop right now is the YSL RICO case. We've actually covered this extensively with George Sheedy, who is an Atlanta journalist. He had been actually following this overall case very closely over the past year. And in fact, 2 weeks before everyone got arrested, he actually contacted us for the first time and said, hey, there's something really big that's about to happen in Atlanta around some rappers and some arrests and so forth. He didn't really go into a lot of details, and we kind of like just took that with a grain of salt. And then when all the arrests came, he called again and said, this is what I'm talking about. So you looked into this case. What's your overall feeling about what's going on right now?
My overall feeling about what's going on is that there is a lack of respect for constitutional rights of criminal defendants. Look, anytime you get named as the defendant, anytime your picture gets put on that wanted poster, the public, we are going to think you did it, right? I mean, that's what they didn't accuse you for nothing, right? So that is out there, and I get that, and I understand that. And that when you see people in orange jumpsuits with their hands cuffed behind their back getting, paraded through into court, they look guilty. I get that. But the level to which everybody has convicted 28 people in the court of public opinion for being in a gang for over a decade and in corroboration committing acts of murder and violence and robbery, to me, is shocking. It is absolutely shocking. Where is the evidence showing that these 28 people even know each other? Where is the evidence showing that any single one of them received $1 from the head of the gang, Young Thug, to go and do murders? Where is the evidence? And it's one thing to charge people, but to say that of these 28 individuals, not one of them deserve a bond. Gunna does not deserve a bond. He is too much of a threat to society. Even if we put an ankle monitor on him, lock him up in a house, make sure there's no electronics in the house, and have him have absolutely no visitors, he is too much of a threat to society.
Yeah, I feel like based on all my, research and conversations, like with the George Sheedys in the world and so forth, and actually going through the 88-page indictment, Gunna was sort of like wrong place, wrong time. The way that he's even connected to all this is that he was one of several members in a car that got pulled over, and they found a bunch of drugs and guns
in the car behind them.
The car behind them. Right, exactly.
And Gunna on that charge, you know what ended up happening? He got arrested. He was put through the system. You know what his charge was at the end of the day for that incident?
What's that?
I think it's an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. He paid a fine for a window tint, and they sent him on his way.
Right.
They didn't have anything on him on that incident, yet currently that incident and very little else is being used to charge him with 5 to 20 held without bail. Under the current procedural rules of the Fulton County Superior Court, because of COVID and other delays, they can't do a speedy trial in 90 days. His trial is 6 months out into January.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. The fact that he's just denied bond altogether and he seems like the least violent out of that whole situation.
But it's not about seems. There are things that we have in this country, ladies and gentlemen, and they're called civil rights. And they're what makes us different from the Russians, okay? If you are asking for a reason for why to give any fucks about Young Thug and him and his friends all getting locked up, it's so that we don't become the Russians, okay? It's so that we have a basic concept that you're innocent until proven guilty, that we don't punish you until you're found guilty, and that if you are a person with no violent felonies in your history, if you're a person willing to wear an ankle monitor, if you're a person willing to pay for round-the-clock security to lock you up, have you have no outside contact with any individuals, have no electronics in your house, no contraband in your house, then we're gonna allow you bond. If you don't allow a bond, what are you doing? You're punishing that person. You're punishing them without any finding of guilt or innocence.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. George Sheedy felt that Gunna was the only one in this case that could potentially walk away with a somewhat minimum sentence. You know, everyone else is facing a lot, but him in particular seems like he's just dragged along into this whole situation.
To me, everybody is dragged along into the whole situation. To me, I think that the lawyers think that the whole indictment is unconstitutional and we would challenge it, but for the fact that we know that we're not going to get any justice in this court. That's what I think. I think that if they were up here in New York in federal court, they would move in and move to dismiss and say, Judge, read this indictment. Tell me what this guy did that has him facing 5 to 20 with no bond.